Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome back to another new episode of What If Naruto Was a Shinigami. While in the Forest of Death, Orochimaru seals away the Kyuubi. This, however, will lead a new power awakening within the Kyuubi container. If you guys enjoyed this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel. After watching this video, don't forget to shower some appreciation onto the incredible author responsible for this fanfiction. The link is conveniently waiting for you in the description down below. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So now let's start this video. Naruto sighed, staring at the gate ahead of him. He really didn't want to go back there right now. He was just getting used to not being glared at wherever he went to. The group stopped when the blonde fell behind, and looked back, finding him glaring at the gates with icy blue eyes. Hokage called Jiraiya, catching the boy's attention. If you hurry up, I can teach you Shunshin no Jutsu while the sun's still up, finished the toad hermit. Naruto simply nodded before he resumed his walk. Once he caught up with the rest, they too continued toward the gate. Tsunade's eyes narrowed at the state of her nephew. There would definitely be hell to pay for what this village had done to him. It didn't take long for them to reach the gates. They were let in without any trouble. In fact, neither of the guards glared at Naruto. Not wanting to look a gift horse in the mouth, Naruto swiftly walked through the gates. Once inside, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Shizen headed out towards the tower. Naruto, however, had other plans and headed towards his apartment. It didn't take him long to reach the complex. However, instead of going up to his apartment, he stopped on the second floor. Reaching room 209 of the mostly abandoned complex, he quickly entered. The room was filled with nothing but weapons, everything from kunai to swords. The room's back wall had a huge hole in it out to give it more room, as did the other two walls. Now where is she, he said to himself quietly. After looking around a bit, he decided to check the back. Walking up and looking through the hole, he smirked, seeing his guess was correct. There, rummaging through boxes, was none other than Konoha's weapon mistress. Her brown hair hanging down her back in a ponytail instead of the buns it was usually in. "It's about time you got back," said Tenten without turning her head. "How do you know it was me?" asked the blonde, leaning against the wall. "Because Hinata-chan was already here. Plus, aside from me and her, you're the only person who knows about this place," explained Tenten like it was obvious. "So I'm guessing you need to restock," said the weapons specialist. "What makes you think I didn't come just to see you?" said Naruto. "The fact that you just came back from a mission," said Tenten. "Fine, I did come to restock. Though just for the record, I did want to see you," said the blonde. "So how was your mission?" said Tenten, still going through boxes. "A success, though we did have some trouble," confessed the blonde, causing Tenten to turn her head. "Orochimaru showed up," said the blonde simply. Tenten froze at the name, and her eyes narrowed. Her head slowly turned to Naruto, who backed away, seeing the look in her eyes. Knowing an angry Tenten was a dangerous Tenten, he hastily explained the encounter. By the end of the explanation, he was behind the wall, peeking around the corner. He did, however, leave out a few details, such as Tsunade being in the village. Once he finished, Tenten closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and let it out. She was extremely happy she had taught the boy how to wield a sword when they were younger. Opening her eyes, she saw the boy hiding behind the wall, and had to stifle a giggle. Naruto, seeing this, came out of hiding and sat down next to her. "So I'm not gonna die," said Naruto nervously. "No, you're not gonna die, Baka," said Tenten with a small smile before hugging him to her. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief at that one and rested his head on her shoulder. Tenten ran her fingers through his hair, noticing it had gotten longer. In fact, it just about reached his shoulders. "Come on, Ototo, let's go fix that hair of yours," said Tenten, standing to her feet. Naruto did likewise, and grabbing the pouch she had filled for him. Once done, both headed out of their personal armory and headed towards her apartment. This coincidentally was right next to his council chambers. Tsunade glared at the people in the room. With the exception of only a few, all of these people were on her shit list. Those few being Nara Shikaku, Akimichi Chuza, Aburame Shibi, Inuzuka Tsum, Yamanaka Inoichi, and surprisingly Hyuga Hiashi. According to Sarutobi's notes, these were the people keeping Naruto alive. The rest of the council consisted of civilians, Sarutobi's former teammates, and that bastard Danzo. The last one was the one she was having problems with. Apparently, word of Naruto's feats during the Chunin exam finals, specifically Shikaku's defeat, had spread through the ranks. While this wasn't a problem, what was Danzo trying to draft her nephew into Root. "I don't see what the problem is with this, Tsunade," said Danzo. "The problem is you trying to turn him into a weapon," snarled Tsunade. "That's what he is," said Danzo angrily. "That boy is a monster. His only purpose, Tsunade, is to be a weapon." Why you and that fool Sarutobi don't see this, I'll never understand. By the end of his little rant, Tsunade had had enough and had crossed the distance between them in a flash. Grabbing the man by his collar, she hoisted him up so she could look into the man's eyes. I'll say this only one more time, the answer is no. And if you ever disrespect him, or my sensei again in front of me or not, I'll kill you, said Tsunade coldly before throwing him back into his seat. Tsunade called Hamura, catching the attention of the entire group. What is so special about that boy that you would threaten an elder in the presence of the council, he finished. Tsunade inwardly smirked at that. She could wait to see their faces. Though this goes against all clan regulations, she didn't care as she and Naruto were the only two left. Firstly, Hamura, you should remember this council means nothing to me. I could dismember it just as swiftly as my uncle created it, said Tsunade, her eyes cold. Secondly, that boy, as you put it, means more to Konoha than all of you, she said, shocking everyone. He is the great-grandson of the Nidaime Hokage, and my nephew, finished the slug Sannin. This left everyone shocked. Even the normally stoic Abirame and Hyuga had it showing. Hiashi by the widening of his eyes and Shibi by his raised eyebrows. Hamura and Kohara, however, looked like they'd been slammed in the chest with a raisin gun. Both had their jaws dropped and eyes wide in disbelief. Oh, so you get it now, mocked Tsunade. If you'd ever bothered to think, you would have figured something out. Why Naruto was chosen to hold Kyuubi and why Sensei protected him so much. Or how about why he wants to become Kage of a village full of ingrates, said Tsunade. I don't understand, said Koharu. If Sensei had had a family, why weren't we told? Because it's against the rules, said Tsunade, simply catching everyone's attention. The only one who's supposed to know is the Hokage. Which is why Sarutobi-sensei knew, finished the slug Sannin. Then why tell us now, Tsunadeheim, said Hiashi. Because the clan is already dead. The rules no longer apply, said Tsunade tiredly. Suriidii. Yamamoto, Genryusai captain of the 1st Division and Commander General of the Godai 13, was a man of little fear. There were a few things he did fear, one of which was paperwork. He had just gotten back to his office to find the desk covered in stacks of paper. His grip on his staff tightened seeing that, however, he smirked and called in his lieutenant. It didn't take long for the man to enter, and Yamamoto's smirk widened. You called for me, Taicho, said the Fukutecho, lieutenant of the Godai 13's 1st Division. Hi Chojiro, I have an extremely important mission for you, said Yamamoto, trying hard not to laugh. Hearing silence from behind him, he continued. I need you to take and fill out all of these forms, said Yamamoto. Hi Taicho, said Chojiro. Yamamoto smirked once he was gone. He couldn't wait until someone replaced that guy. He was a weakling and a suck-up. Sitting in his seat, he reached into his robe before pulling out a small orange book. Flipping it open to the first page, he lost himself into his book. If anyone from Suriidii walked in, they'd only see him reading a common thing for him. They would completely overlook the book's title, Ichi Ichi Paradise Volume 1. Konoha Hospital. Naruto leaned against the wall, eyes closed, as Tsunade worked on Sasuke. He had completely ignored Sakura's presence, not that she noticed his either. After a few more minutes, however, he walked out of the room down to Lee's. On his way there, he ran into both Tenten and Neji. His eyes twinkled mischievously seeing them together, but he quickly smothered his impulse and calmly walked beside them. Tenten, for her part, acted her part flawlessly, making it seem like they were merely acquaintances. When they entered the room, they found that guy was also there, and looked like he'd been there for a while. Lee was also awake when they walked in and strapped down to the bed. Naruto snickered at this. Everyone looked his way when he did, and he explained. They used to strap me down too. Otherwise they couldn't get me to stay in that bed even with broken bones, said Naruto, causing Lee to smile slightly. Your flames of youth burn brightly, Naruto-kun, said Lee. Hopefully you won't have to endure this unyouthful torture again, finished the genin. Yeah, but don't worry, you'll be good as new in no time, said Naruto confidently. How do you know that, said Neji. I brought the best to fix him up, said Naruto. Guy's face brightened upon hearing this, as he had known where Naruto went with Jiraiya. Neji saw this and just had to ask. And just who did you bring? Me, came Tsunade's voice as she entered the room. Tenten's eyes went wide seeing the woman she considered her hero. Then they quickly narrowed in anger as she rounded on Naruto, who gave a startled meep very much like a certain Hyuga and took a few steps back. Tenten, seeing this, took a few steps forward. This continued until Naruto's back was on the wall. You brought Tsunade-sama back, said Tenten, slowly getting a hesitant nod from the blonde. And you didn't tell me this earlier, why, said Tenten dangerously. You didn't ask, said Naruto, looking anywhere but at her. Tenten took a deep breath before turning her back on the boy, causing him to breathe a sigh of relief. Thank Kami, he said quietly. Kami's got nothing to do with it, said Tenten, turning her head towards him. I just decided to torture you later, Ototo said Tenten, causing Naruto to shudder. Sorry, Lee gotta go, said Naruto before he bolted and jumped out the open window, dashing across the rooftops. It was only when she turned around did Tenten realize she slipped up. Everyone had their eyes on her, disbelief clearly seen. Did she just say started Neji? Ototo finished Lee. Tenten mentally slapped herself for her slip-up before looking towards Tsunade for help. Elsewhere, Jiraiya giggled quietly from his perch in the bushes. His invisibility technique active and telescope in his hand, he looked at the bathhouse before him. Occupying said area were two of Konoha's most delectable, dangerous, and elusive jounin, the Genjutsu mistress Yuhi Kurenai, and her best friend Mitarashi Anko, both of which clad in nothing but towels. If that wasn't enough right there, the most beautiful women in the ANBU, Yuzuki Yugao, had just joined them. Jiraiya took that moment to silently thank Kami for allowing him to see this sight. Once he did, a perverted giggle escaped him as he quickly pulled out his notepad. Hospital. Sakura sat staring at the Uchiha before her worriedly. Tsunade had come in and healed, then left saying he'd be fine and only had to rest. She had tried feeding him only for him to slap her hand away and glare at her. Sasuke himself was staring blankly ahead of him, lost in thought. His encounter with Itachi had done nothing but darken his spirit. He couldn't believe there was still such a gap between them. What was worse, that when Itachi showed up, it wasn't for him but for Naruto of all people. He hadn't even paid him any mind at all. His hands clenched to fist at that thought as he continued to lose himself in his thoughts. If either Sasuke or Sakura had been paying any attention, they would have both noticed his curse seal pulsing. Next day, Hokage Monument. Naruto sat on top of Sarutobi's head, looking out over the village. When he had first come this morning, he had frowned seeing the large crack running over the face of the sculpture. Unlike most times he came up here, however, this time he wasn't alone, as a small one-tailed kid could be seen lying on his lap as he ran his hand through her fur. Kyuubi purred as the blonde continued to absent-mindedly stroke her fur. She loved it when he did this, though she wouldn't tell him that. She shuddered as he hit a particular spot that made her weak in the knees in any form. Snuggling up to him, she closed her eyes, drifting off to a peaceful sleep. Her last thoughts were on the inevitable meeting between her and her father, and the effect it would have on him. Hyuga Estate. Hiashi was still in shock over the meeting that occurred less than 24 hours ago. He'd never really had anything against the boy except thinking he was a bit immature. So it was no surprise, to him at least, that he never busted up his secret friendship with his eldest daughter. While no one else knew of their friendship he had known for years, his mastery over the Byakugan had allowed him to see it. He had also seen through Hinata's mask, which was why he was so hard on her. He knew Hinata was stronger than she appeared, and while she couldn't beat Neji, there was no way Hanabi could beat her if she was serious. The reason he allowed this to continue, however, was simple. He had discovered her plans. The plans that Hinata, Naruto, and Tenten had come up with, not only for her to become Hyuga head and Naruto Hokage, but the plans to revolutionize all of Konoha, starting with the removal of the branch house's caged bird seal, something he hadn't been able to accomplish. He still remembered when he had found out about it. Flashback. Hinata had been late coming from the academy, and he had activated his Byakugan to find her. He had developed his Byakugan to the point where his range extended the entire village. He had found her at the apartment complex in a room filled with weapons. With her were the 8-year-old Tenten and 7-year-old Naruto. Though he wasn't able to hear, he was still able to lip read. So he was surprised at the conversation they were having. He was especially surprised to find Hinata not stuttering or shying away. In the end, he was surprised at the slyness of the three, especially of his daughter, that she had even fooled him. After observing the conversation, he decided that he would help out by keeping suspicion away from Hinata. Flashback, and after that he would continue to watch them as they met, though never as they trained. He could only tell Hinata held back because of the small, almost unnoticeable twitches she made whenever she and Hanabi sparred. He smirked to himself as he walked off. He couldn't wait to see the looks the elders had when things came to pass. Hokage Tower. Tsunade stared at the faces of the former Hokages from the window in the office. She had her inauguration ceremony today, but that didn't bother her. Looking over the faces of first her grandfather, then her uncle, to her sensei and father figure, she finally came to the gaze of her cousin. She was broken from her musing when there was a knock at the door. "What is it?" she asked. "Tsunade-sama, Naruto-kun is here," said Shizen. "Send him in," said Tsunade. Not a minute after she said that, the blonde walked in. Neither said anything, simply staring at the monument. After a few moments, Tsunade spoke, breaking the silence. "What do you want to know about, first the clan or bloodline?" "The clan," Naruto answered quickly. Alright, as you are aware, the Senju are extremely secretive, said Tsunade, getting a nod from the blonde. The clan originates from Kusa no Kuni, grass country. Kusa, which was once one of the major villages, was nearly destroyed in the first Great Shinobi War, and the clan along with it. This was caused by a poison that had spread throughout the village. Those who survived split up, going different ways. Shodame and Nidame among others came here and created Konoha. The other half left, heading towards Mizu no Kuni, water country. Most of those that came here died out during the second and third Great Shinobi Wars. The rest, however, died in the Kyuubi attack, which is why we are the last, explained Tsunade. She had noticed the kid around his neck stiffen at the mention of the Kyuubi attack but paid it no mind. Our bloodline is unique, said Tsunade, catching the blonde's interest. Our bloodline allows us control over water. This, of course, is what Nidame is famous for, said Tsunade, getting a nod from the blonde. Of course, that's not all. Our bloodline naturally merges compatible chakra alignments. For my grandfather, it created the Mokuton element. While people usually had compatible alignments, some like myself didn't, mine being water and fire. As you know, the two cancel each other out, she explained, getting another nod. I have no idea what your father's alignment was, though I know for a fact Nawaki would have gotten Mokuton, said Tsunade. How so, asked Naruto. As I said, our bloodline naturally merges two compatible chakra natures. Nawaki had a Doton chakra nature. That combined with water, if his bloodline had awakened, would result in Mokuton, explained the slug Sannin. So if someone had, say, wind as their natural element, asked Naruto. Is that your element, asked Tsunade, getting a nod from the blonde. Seeing this, she pulled out a piece of paper and handed it to him. Knowing what it was, he focused chakra into it and was surprised. First it split into 3 pieces before one split in half. One soaked through and the other froze. I knew it, said Tsunade quietly. Knew what, said Naruto. There was once a small clan of people in Kiri that were able to use ice. I had suspected them to be of Senju blood, but I wasn't sure, explained Tsunade. Haku, Naruto thought with a pang of sadness. Anyway, said Tsunade, catching his attention. I'm moving you and your sister out of that apartment, she finished, getting a raised eyebrow. You'll be moving in with me and Shizen at the Hokage mansion. After about 20 more minutes they finished and Naruto left the room. On his way out he stopped and looked towards his side before shaking his head and leaving. Toshiro and Hinamori, who were in their Shinigami forms, had seen this. Why didn't he see us, asked Hinamori. Could you feel his Ryatsu, asked Toshiro, knowingly, getting a shake of the head from the girl. He's developed a way to contain his Ryatsu, which he always does unless in battle. As it is, he has so little flowing through him he can't see us. But we also can't track him, explained the captain. I see, smart move, said Hinamori. Yes, with his level of Ryatsu and lack of training, he'd be nothing more than hollow bait if he didn't contain his Ryatsu, said Toshiro. 3 weeks later, Naruto could be found in the training grounds of the Hokage mansion, where he spent most of his time. Tenten had been ecstatic when she had first gotten the invitation to move in from Tsunade and had hastily agreed. In that time, Naruto had also noticed majority of the shinobi had stopped glaring at him, and wondered why, though he appreciated it. Like most boys with a new toy, he spent most of his time tinkering with it. As such, he was always found training his bloodline, along with a few thousand clones. He had read that Nidame had gotten to the point where he could draw water from the molecules in the air. He set himself to be able to do that as well. He had noticed that it took virtually no time for him to master Suiton techniques. In fact, he had already mastered Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu, Kirigakure no Jutsu, Suiton, Teppadama, water release, gunshot, and Suiton, Sujin Hiki, water release, water encampment wall. He had even gotten to the point where he didn't have to use all the seals to use the jutsus, meaning they couldn't be copied. At least that's what Tsunade had told him. While most wouldn't be able to improve so fast with the help of Kage Bunshin, Naruto knew he was now equal with Sasuke in terms of ninjutsu. He had also found out he didn't get the promotion to Chunin, though he wasn't worried since he now had his apprenticeship. In fact, the only one promoted had been Shikamaru, who had merely stated it was troublesome. Even still, during all this time he kept feeling as if he was being watched, but shrugged it off as paranoia. He was currently doing another chakra control exercise, water rolling. Jiraiya had stated that he was still wasting far too much chakra in his attacks. He was also still working on perfecting the Rasengan, though that was proving to be a little difficult as Jiraiya would not allow the usage of clones for that. After watching the boy fall in a few more times, Jiraiya called him over. Igaki called Jiraiya, waving the boy over. Once he continued. The senseis have asked me to bring you over for a group spar. Interested, asked the pervert. Are you a super pervert, replied Naruto with a grin. With that, Naruto dried off before dressing. Once he was dressed once more, they both ran through a few seals and disappeared in twin puffs of smoke. Training Ground 9. The rookies and Team Guy had gathered at Training Ground 9 for a little sparring at Kureniai's suggestion. Guy had picked this training ground as it had a lake just in case Sasuke missed one of his fire jutsus. They were all gathered with the exception of Shino, Naruto, and Jiraiya when the latter two people appeared in twin puffs of smoke. The Jounins raised eyebrows seeing Naruto do the Chunin level skill, while Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Lee and Hinata weren't participating, Lee because he couldn't and Hinata because she didn't want him to feel left out. Shikamaru also wasn't participating, saying it was too troublesome, and Shino was gone on a diplomatic mission with his father. The matches had gone by rather quickly. Ino had given up after drawing Neji, and Sakura had been put down in one move by Kiba. Tenten and Choji's match had been rather entertaining, though it ended with him being surrounded by weapons and surrendering. Tension immediately entered the group, knowing the next match was Naruto versus Sasuke. Once they were on the field, neither spoke for a few moments. Then out of nowhere, Naruto chuckled, catching the attention of the black-haired boy. "What's so funny, Dobe?" said Sasuke. "Nothing's funny, team," replied Naruto. "Just thinking about how easy it's going to be to beat you," he finished. Sasuke, who had wanted to fight him since he woke up, growled hearing this. Then without warning he shot forward. Naruto, seeing this, charged as well, meeting him in the middle. Both struck out with right hooks which were both caught in the other's left hand. They struggled for a second before they broke apart. Jumping forward, the Uchiha rushed at the Uzumaki again, throwing a flurry of punches which were all dodged. Sasuke jabbed with his left, and Naruto, instead of dodging, caught it before pulling him forward. Before Sasuke could react, he had been punched in the chest and sent skidding back a bit. Sasuke, whose head was down, looked up, showing the blood-red eyes of the Sharingan, 2 commas in each eye. "So you want to get serious, huh?" said Naruto. Sasuke didn't answer, and quickly ran through seals, launching a few fireballs at the blonde. Naruto jumped to the side, avoiding the fireballs. Landing on his feet, he looked up just in time to catch a kick to the face before puffing into smoke. "Shit, Bunshin," thought Sasuke. He turned just in time to see a ball of water flying at him, and dodged out of the way. He was caught by surprise, however, when dozens of Naruto emerged from the water. Focusing chakra to his legs, he leapt into the air while running through seals. Taking a deep breath, he exhaled a huge fireball while thinking Katon, Gokaku no Jutsu. The ball of fire streaked towards the Narutos before engulfing them, creating a large cloud of smoke. The smoke was blown apart, however, by a water ball shooting out of it. Sasuke, seeing this and knowing he couldn't dodge, quickly made the needed seals before calling out Chidori and plunging through the water ball and towards the blonde. Naruto, seeing this, brought his hands up in front of him, the ball of chakra quickly forming. Then, focusing chakra to his legs, he leapt at the boy with the cry of Rasengan. Sakura, no longer able to watch anymore, dashed over trying to stop them. Both saw her, though only Naruto made an effort to not hit her. Before either of them made contact, however, they were quickly snatched out of the air and thrown towards the trees. While Sasuke's arms sunk deep into it, Naruto's palm rested on the trunk when he moved, showing a small hole. Sasuke smirked, seeing this, before walking off. As he did, however, he froze, seeing the damage behind the tree done by the jutsu. The back of the tree was torn to shreds, as were several bushes, while other trees had pieces missing. He gritted his teeth in anger before stalking off once more. Everyone else was looking on at Naruto, who was glaring at Kakashi. Kakashi had given the excuse that Sasuke had used Chidori to get through the water ball since he had no other option. "Listen, Hatake," said Naruto, anger dripping from his voice. "If that was the case, he would have ended the jutsu after he got past the water ball," said Naruto, making the other Jounins and Jiraiya agree. "But I'll tell you what," said the blonde, catching everyone's attention. "If he ever aims that thing at me again, the gloves will come off." "Now how's that sound for an option?" finished the blonde coldly before he grabbed his things and disappeared in a puff of smoke. That night, Sasuke gazed up, looking at the stars deep in thought. As far as he was concerned, this place was holding him back. First, not giving him any missions, then the doe being trained by a Sannin. Well, he isn't the only one with a Sannin interested in him, thought the Uchiha, touching the mark on his neck. Just as he thought that, 4 figures dropped down in front of him. Sasuke smirked, seeing the symbols on their hidetes. "So he sent escorts for me, huh?" said Sasuke, with Sakura. The pink-haired Kunoichi was walking towards her house from Ino's. As she was walking, however, she saw a familiar figure down the road. Sasuke-kun called out Sakura, causing him to turn. After a bit of talking with Sakura trying to convince to stay or at least let her go with him, Sasuke had enough. Appearing behind her, he quickly knocked her out. The last thing she heard before darkness claimed her was a soft thank you. She was awoken by 2 Chunin who were passing by the next morning. Once she remembered what happened, she immediately rushed to Tsunade's office. Later, Hokage Mansion. Naruto awoke with a groan before stretching himself out. After a few quick seals, he muttered out Kuchio's no jutsu. There was a puff of smoke and Kyuubi appeared in her human form in the bed next to him. She was still asleep, he noticed, so he did what he always did at times like these, watched her. He took a moment to look over her body, especially her legs, which he could see because of the shorts. He watched the rise and fall of her chest as she breathed and smiled softly. You know, if I didn't know any better, I'd think you'd fallen for her, came Tenten's voice from the door. Naruto snorted at that before getting up himself. Yeah, right. Will never happen, said the blonde. Then why do you let her out, asked Tenten with narrowed eyes. Just fulfilling my part of the deal, said the blonde. I think you actually are falling for her, said Tenten. Yeah, right, love is a farce, said Naruto, going through his drawers. It's too early for this argument, said Tenten. The doorbell ringing interrupted them as they went to check. Opening the door, they found it was none other than Shikamaru. What's up, Shika, said Naruto. Sasuke ran away last night. We need to get him back, said Shikamaru. I'll pass, said Naruto, turning back into the house. Naruto called Shikamaru. No. I'm not going after that damn Uchiha, get someone who cares to do it, said Naruto. Tsunade-sama said you'd say that, said Shikamaru. So you still came here because? Asked Naruto. Shikamaru said nothing and merely gave him a slip of paper. Once he read it, his eyes narrowed before he balled it up. Damn, that old woman, snarled the blonde before he went to get dressed. Tenten, seeing this, picked the note up and chuckled after reading it. Shikamaru raised an eyebrow at this before he saw the note and read it. Do it or no ramen for a month was all it said. Once Naruto came down fully dressed except missing his coat, they left, though Tenten quickly took his sword so he wouldn't be tempted to use it on the Uchiha. It didn't take long for them to get Choji, Kiba and Neji to agree to going either. Once they reached the gates, they checked their supplies before turning to leave. They were stopped, however, hearing a voice calling for them to wait. Turning around, they saw Sakura come up with tears in her eyes. Naruto, please bring Sasuke-kun back. I tried to stop him, but I could, please, said Sakura. Naruto said nothing for a long moment, then spoke. No. I could care less about your precious Uchiha, or you for that matter. Though he'll come back if he's in a box or not depends on him, said the blonde before turning away. Nodding to the others, each of them took to the trees, dashing after their target. Sakura stared at the ground with a sullen look on her face. The gates were crowded with the rookies and Team Guy. Asuma, Kurenai, Guy, Kakashi and Jiraiya had leapt into the forest after the team upon learning of what was happening. Tsunade herself had taken to waiting with them by the gates next to Tenten and Hinata. She still couldn't believe what Naruto had told her. Naruto had never spoken to her like that before, he had never denied her anything, ever. So why would he do that now of all times? Why wouldn't he? Came the sarcastic voice of inner Sakura. After all, what have you ever done for him? You were always belittling him just so you could feel better about yourself. You were always hitting him just to take out your frustration on someone. And lastly, you were always trying to compare him to that faggot Uchiha, said inner Sakura, yelling the last part. Hey, Sasuke-kun is not a faggot, defended Sakura. Yeah, and Kakashi's not a pervert, retorted inner Sakura. All I'm saying is no straight guy would be turning down all the pussy he was being offered. What's your point? Asked Sakura, trying to change the subject. My point is all you seem to care about lately are yourself and that Uchiha, said inner Sakura. It was then that several high chakra signatures could be felt moving at high speeds. Looking up, all anyone could see were dust clouds heading towards the village. Soon a green blur flew past the gates, and the crowd followed closely by several others. They didn't even slow down when one snatched up Tsunade and kept going. Reacting quickly, each of them moved quickly in the direction the blurs traveled. When they stopped at the hospital, it was immediate chaos as everyone could see the state of the team members. While Shikamaru was fine, everyone else was a wreck. Choji was now extremely skinny and pale. Neji had a hole going through his chest and most likely his lung as well. They looked like he just fought Gaara again. Kiba had a deep stab wound in his side and was cradling Akamaru, who looked to have a few broken limbs. The worst, however, was Naruto. The boy's blonde hair was covered red in blood and his left arm was hanging limp like it was dead. The worst, however, was the hole going through his stomach. Jiraiya, who was holding the blonde, was also covered in blood that was most likely Naruto's. Tsunade froze seeing the amount of blood coming from her nephew but quickly snapped out of it. She wasted no time snapping out orders to every medic she saw. Before anything could happen though, a white portal opened up and a dozen people stepped out. Each person wore a black kimono and hakama set tied together with a white sash. The final person to step out was a female with long black hair braided over her chest. She was as tall as Tsunade, and like all others she wore the black kimono and hakama set. Unlike others, however, she also wore an obi instead of the sash and a white haori on the back of which was a black rhombus with the kanji 44 on the back. She took one glance at the group before speaking in a calm and relaxed voice. "I saying take one squad and take care of the unnaturally skinny child. Hanataro, I want you to take a squad and deal with the one with the hole through his chest." Hai Taicho said the mention too. Before anyone could blink, they went about their assigned task, taking both Choji and Neji with him. "I want you four to take care of the boy with the dog," she continued, pointing to a group. The group immediately obeyed and disappeared to take care of the assigned task. Another group of four she sent to take care of Lee. Finally, she turned to Naruto, moving his hair from his forehead. She sighed, seeing a small seal on it, before taking him from Jiraiya's arms. Turning towards Tsunade, she spoke up quietly and politely. "Tsunade-san, I will need both yours and your assistant's help to care for Naruto." "Who are you?" asked Tsunade, snapping from her shock. "Oh, where are my manners? I'm Retsu Unohana, captain of the Godai 13th 4th Division," she answered. "That can wait, however I still need your help," said Unohana politely. Both Tsunade and Shizen complied before making their way towards one of the operating rooms. Once they were inside, Unohana spoke up once again. "We have to hurry, his preserver seal will only last a little longer." "Preserver seal?" questioned Shizen. "Hide the seal on his forehead." Apparently the seal on his stomach was destroyed. The captain, who was watching over the battle, had been able to apply the seal before sending for my division, said Unohana before setting the blonde teen down. "We'll need to work fast. Once it's removed, his body will react," said Unohana, sitting on the floor with her legs crossed. Once she was set, a blue glow surrounded her before surrounding Naruto as well. After a few moments, the seal on the blonde's forehead pulsed a few times before dissolving. Once it did, the boy's eyes snapped open and a blood-curdling scream came from his mouth. Then, before anyone could react, red chakra burst forth, covering him so much so that it was hard to see him. "Kami, what is he holding?" asked Unohana in shock. "Recounting." A black-haired woman's head snapped up as a presence filled her senses. She was dressed in a black kimono and hakama set. She also had the white haori with the kanji 46 in the rhombus on the back. On her side was a sheathed katana with a red hilt. Anyone who saw her would immediately recognize her as a Shinigami. Her eyes narrowed when she recognized the presence, and she disappeared in a blur. Konoha. It had been a few hours since the return of the retrieval team. Everyone was now fine and in perfect health with the exception of one Uzumaki Naruto. The members and senseis of the Rookie 9 and Team Guy were now sitting outside of the operating room the blonde was in. They weren't the only ones, however, as each of the clan heads that supported the blonde were there, as well as the Suna Sibs. Everyone was broken from their thoughts when the door opened and the exhausted forms of Tsunade, Shizen, and Unohana walked through the door. The unconscious forms of Naruto and Kyuubi being carried by Tsunade and Shizen. Once they were placed in a room, Tsunade spoke up. "What the hell happened out there?" "Yes, I'd like to know that as well," said Unohana. "We were ambushed," said Shikamaru, quietly catching the group's attention. "Explain," demanded Tsunade. "Troublesome anyway. What happened was," started the shadow user. Flashback. After Naruto had finished with Sakura, the group had moved quickly. Kiba and Akamaru, who were in the lead, were using their noses to track the Uchiha. Behind him was Naruto, his face clearly showing his displeasure for being forced to come. Shikamaru came next, his face set in its bored expression. Then came Choji, who was stuffing his face with chips while still leaping through the trees. Finally came Neji, who was using his Byakugan periodically to check their surroundings. After running for a few more minutes, Naruto came for a stop, causing everyone else to as well. Narrowing his eyes, the blonde looked around at his surrounding before taking a whiff of the air. Neji spoke, the blonde looking his direction. Neji, catching on, silently activated his Byakugan and cursed as soon as he did. Genjutsu, spoke Neji, quietly telling the others what Naruto already knew. "How many?" asked Naruto after dispelling it, knowing there were people nearby to run it. "For all Otonin," said Neji. "Point me in the right way," was all Naruto said before 3 clones appeared. One to the right 30 feet out. One to the left, one behind, and one ahead same distance. As soon as he finished, each of the blondes blurred in a different direction. Not long after that, the blondes returned and 3 of them disappeared in a puff of smoke. "I think it's safe to say Sasuke is not by himself," said Kiba, stating the obvious. "It changes nothing," said Naruto. "It's not like the Hibi is going to send an entire army to deal with 4 genin and a lazy chunin," he finished, making the others nod in agreement. Flashback. "And unfortunately that's exactly what happened," said Neji. "What?" exclaimed the shocked Shizen. "Apparently Orochimaru wanted Sasuke so bad he had an army prepared just to make sure he got there," explained Neji. "Not to mention the fact Naruto somehow got on the snake's bad side," said Kiba. "As well as the fact the troublesome blonde has a bit of a reputation now," said Shikamaru. "What do you mean reputation?" asked Ino. Apparently Naruto gained a nickname during the invasion. They call him Konoha's Shinigami, said Neji, getting a snort from Ising. Him a Shinigami, you're right. He hasn't even been to the academy, said Ising. Did you forget about what Ichigo did to you when he first came to Suriidai? Let's not forget he never attended the academy either, said Unohana. Actually Taicho, I did forget, confessed Ising. Wait, what academy? asked Shizen. It's like the academy shinobi attend, except instead of the shinobi arts we teach how to be a Shinigami, explained Unohana. Anyway, what happened after that? Neji asked Tenten. Right, well, after we left that group we caught up with the group who was with Sasuke. Unfortunately we were caught in a barrier made of earth. Flashback. What the hell? exclaimed Kiba, watching in shock as the wall reconstructed itself after withstanding a Tsuga from him. This dome is filled with chakra, Kiba explained, Neji, his Byakugan active. What's worse is it's slowly draining us of our own, finished the Hyuga. Naruto took this time to bring his hands in front of him with only his fingertips touching. Not long after he did that, a sphere of pure chakra formed between his hands, only to dissolve before the jutsu could be completed. Damn it, said Naruto through gritted teeth. Naruto, man, what the hell was that? asked Kiba, his curiosity getting the better of him. It's one of my most powerful and favorite techniques. I learned it when I went with Ero-sensei to get the old woman to become Hokage. Jiraiya-sensei was also the man who trained Yondaime. Anyway, it was a jutsu which was created and mastered by Yondaime in a span of 3 years. It's called the Rasengan, finished the blonde. The group hearing this was in shock. Choji had even dropped his chips in surprise. Not long after that, Shikamaru's head snapped up in Choji's direction. You ready? asked Shika. His only response was Choji enlarged himself with his Baika no Jutsu. Following directions, Choji turned to the wall directly opposite of the sound nin that was holding them hostage. Once he was facing it, he turned into a giant ball before charging and destroying the back of the prison. Once they were out, they noticed all but one Oto nin had left. That one had been the fat one, Jirobo. Though that didn't mean that he was alone, as there was at least 20 more shinobi with him. Look at him, spoke one of the Oto nin who was wearing a mask over his face. Who? asked the second. The blonde one. It has to be him, said the first. Let's see. Blonde hair, blue eyes and whisker like marks. Yeah, it's him, alright, said the second. Who'd have thought we'd meet up with the Konoha no Shinigami in a place like this, said the first. Hurry up and attack, yelled Jirobo, interrupting their conversation. Seeing this, the group each took their stances as the 20 or so shinobi converged on them. Naruto had 2 kunai in hand and a backhanded grip. This will be quick, said Naruto with a smirk. Yeah, they're foolish to come in close, responded Neji. As if by some signal, the group split apart in different directions. They each only had 4 opponents, which was rather insulting to both Naruto and Neji. Neji sighed watching them come, and deciding against the Kaiten, he blurred forward. Slamming his palm into the chest of one Oto nin, he turned quickly, striking another in the heart with the index and middle fingers of his right hand. Ducking under a kunai swipe, he flipped forward, kicking the nin behind him in the chin. Coming down, he quickly threw a kunai into the nin's chest before giving the final one a palm strike to the stomach. Using his kunais, Naruto blocked 2 kunai thrusts from both sides. Pushing them off, the blonde moved quickly, ducking under another kunai swipe. He came up, stabbing one of his kunai into one nin's throat. Letting go of the kunai, he caught another that was thrown at him by the handle before throwing it back at the nin, hitting him in his chest. Blurring, the blonde appeared in front of another before aiming a chakra-infused punch at his opponent. He ducked just in time to dodge the kunai swipe that came from behind him. The swipe, however, did go through the other nin's neck. Naruto came up quickly and punched the nin in the chest, sending him flying back a few feet. Turning, the blonde looked, seeing the others already done with their opponents as well. They then noticed Jirobo was the only one left. They started to move on him before Choji told them he would handle him himself. Reluctantly, they agreed to his wishes and continued further ahead. Flashback, and after listening to Choji recount his fight, most of the group was in awe. The clan heads, however, were worried about the level of power the curse seal had given Jirobo. There was one thing, however, that had Hiashi curious. After thinking on it for a moment, he spoke up. Neji, said Hiashi, catching the younger Hyuga's attention. Are you sure the name of Naruto's jutsu was called the Rasengan? Asked Hiashi, looking at the boy intently. Positive. Why? asked Neji. The Rasengan was thought to have been lost after the Yondaime's death, explained Inoichi. Anyway, what happened next? asked Tsunade. After we left Choji, we found the other 3 resting in a clearing. Shikamaru came up with a plan to surround them. Unfortunately, we ended up stuck to spider webs, started Neji. Flashback. Kidamura looked at the group ahead of him. The others had already left, leaving him to finish this group. Seeing multiple blondes, he decided to stab them all until he found the real one. He was surprised, however, when the final one also turned into smoke. He moved just in time to dodge the kunai that were heading towards the back of his head. These same kunai, however, struck the piece of the web holding Neji in place. The same happened a few more times, freeing the rest of the group. Once everyone was down, Neji stepped forward, telling the others to go ahead. The group, complying with his wishes, did. Just after this was done, Kadamura made a signal and 15 nin jumped down from the trees on the Hyuga. Neji sighed seeing this before a blue shield appeared around him. Then, placing chakra to his feet, he spun with a call of Kaiten. The nins all hit the Hyuga clan's absolute defense before being sent flying away from the Hyuga. Turning, Neji glared at the six-armed man before blurring forward. Flashback in. After hearing Neji explain the details of his battle, the rookies were once again in awe of the battle. Hiashi, however, was inwardly raging at how Neji's weakness was used against him. He, like Hinata, had never believed that Juken was invincible, as all you needed to do was fight long-ranged. The elders, however, refused to hear such things, loving to think themselves invincible. Unohana herself was listening quietly to all of this, knowing she'd have to report this. Especially since it sounded as if these humans were using demonic energy. Before anything else could be said, however, another portal opened. This time only one person stepped out. Like all Shinigami, he wore the black kimono and hakama set. He also wore the white haori that showed him as a captain, on the back of which was the kanji 4-6 in the black rhombus. He had long black hair with a whitish silver hairpiece and an extremely long white scarf around his neck. Byakuya Taicho, I thought you'd be a bit later, said Unohana. Yes, well, I managed to finish up early, spoke the newly introduced captain. He's in the room if you'd like to see him, said Unohana. First, I'd like to know what has happened that would force me to come here so early, responded the Kuchiki head. Oh, Tsunade-san, this is Kuchiki Byakuya. He is the current head to one of the 4 noble families of Soul Society, and the captain of the 6th division, said Unohana. Right, well, Shikamura here was just about to explain what happened next, said Tsunade, motioning to the Nara. Troublesome, muttered the Nara. After we left Neji, we caught up to the rest of the other 2. Before we could confront them, however, another troublesome group dropped down in front of us, started Shikamaru. Flashback. This is getting really annoying, said Naruto, looking at the 15 nin in front of him. Yeah, I don't even like the Uchiha that much, said the dog boy. Regardless if we like him or not, we have to take him back. Even if he's more troublesome than my mom, said Shikamaru with a sigh. Let's make this quick, I'm starting to get hungry, said Naruto before his hands turned to claws and his pupils became slits. Kiba, following his lead, brought out his own while engaging his Jujin Bunshin. With that, Kiba and Akamaru leapt into the fray with a cry of Gutsuga. Well, can't let Dog Boy have all the fun, said Naruto before he blurred forward. Troublesome, muttered Shikamaru, drawing his kunai to deal with any who got through those 3. Naruto appeared between a group of 6 nin who surrounded him in a circle. He watched as they looked at him in shock before one said something about being rewarded for killing the Shinigami. The blonde smirked before rushing towards that one. Faster than the man could react, Naruto had ripped into the man's throat with his claws. It will take a lot more than you losers to kill me, spoke the blonde. Blurring forward, the blonde planted his fist into one nin's stomach. Then grabbing him, he turned, throwing him in the direction of the 2 tornadoes that were Kiba and Akamaru. Catching a punch aimed at his face, he kneed his attacker in the stomach before giving him a backhanded punch to the back of the head. The other 4, seeing this, charged towards the blonde, who stood still. Naruto simply watched, arms crossed and smirk on his face. Once they were close enough, he dropped down as the twin tornadoes slammed into the 4. Getting to his feet, he dusted himself off before looking towards the Oto nin. He looked just in time to see a white-haired man take the barrel containing Sasuke and run off. Getting nods from Kiba and Shikamaru, the blonde took off, knowing he had the best chance of catching him. Flashback in. After hearing Shikamaru and Kiba recount their fights, the group was silent for a while, each of them trying to digest the information that they had just heard. Noticing the sword Tenten was carrying, Byakuya spoke up. Tell me, child, where did you get that Zanpakuto? Soul Slayer? What this sword? Asked Tenten, getting a nod from the man. Seeing the way the man was looking, she looked over to Tsunade for help, receiving a nod from the blonde. It's Naruto's, said Tenten after a moment. I took it from him when we first heard about the mission, since we weren't expecting any real trouble. Plus, with the way things are around here, it wouldn't help if he'd have killed the Uchiha, explained the weapon mistress. I just want to know what happened that could hurt Naruto-kun that bad, said Hinata, her stutter absent and looking deep in thought. I know, I've never seen him hurt that bad, said Tenten, a thoughtful look on her face. Inoichi, said Tsunade, getting the man's attention. Is it true you have a technique to show the memories of others? Asked Tsunade. Yes, though we'll have to find the memory, said Inoichi. Tsunade nodded before leading the way towards the blonde's room. Once they reached the room, they found one of the 2 was up. Kyuubi was currently looking out of the window over the village with a peaceful expression on her face. I was wondering when you'd come, she spoke, still looking towards the village. I'm surprised you're up so soon, said Tsunade. I'm a fast healer, especially when I'm at full power, replied Kyuubi, getting a few raised eyebrows. I've sent a messenger to inform my father, so you should be expecting him soon, said Kyuubi. Of course, it has been 12 years, said Tsunade. It went by fast for me. After all, I just woke up a few months ago, said Kyuubi. Anyway, I'm guessing you're here to check on Naruto-kun, said Kyuubi. Hi, we need to find out what happened, said Tsunade. He won't be happy with people being in his head, said Kyuubi. I figured as much, but it's a necessity, explained Tsunade. Fine, just remember that Naruto-kun has been through a lot. As such, you'll see things in there most will never experience, advised Kyuubi. Turning around, she laid eyes on the group, who looked shocked seeing her pink eyes. 2 captain-level Shinigami, said Kyuubi in shock. You'd better not be like that bastard Aizen, or I'll tear your heads off where you stand, threatened Kyuubi. How do you know of Aizen? He only went rouge a year ago, said Unohana. Who do you think was responsible for my imprisonment, said Kyuubi, shocking those who knew who she was. Explain yourself, said Byakuya. You'll have to wait, I promised Naruto-kun I'd tell him before anyone else, and as you know, demons never break promises, said Kyuubi with a smirk. Everyone who didn't know who she was were shocked hearing this. It was the older generation that figured out this was Kyuubi. I see you realize who I am well. Allow me to formally introduce myself, said Kyuubi, still smirking. I am the princess of the Kitsune clan, and strongest demon of my generation. I am Kyuubi no Kitsune, she finished with a bow, shocking the younger generation to the core. How you're supposed to be dead, said a shocked Sakura. Fabrication, though I was as good as dead. You should all thank Naruto you're even still alive, especially you Sakura, as you'd have died in that forest if it wasn't for him, said Kyuubi. Anyway, there are more important matters at hand, said Tsunade. Once that was said, Inoichi stepped up and ran through a few seals. After calling the name of his jutsu, he placed his hands on the blonde. Once that was done, a screen appeared over and between them. After a bit of searching, he came upon what he was looking for, and it started up. On screen, Naruto stared at the person before him with annoyance clear in his eyes. He had had a very annoying day so far. First, he was threatened into taking this mission in the first place, then running through the forest. Then getting trapped into that earth barrier which had drained his chakra. After that, he had to fight all those weaklings and run through this forest some more before running into that bone user. Lee had showed up before anything could really happen though. Now he was staring out from one of the statues at the Valley of the End. Sasuke, near the edge, stared back at him with hatred in his eyes. Why'd you come here, Dobe? Asked Sasuke, still glaring. Cause that old hag made me. Why else, team? Replied Naruto casually. Did you know, Naruto, this place is called the Valley of the End? A fitting place for our final battle, said Sasuke. Naruto said nothing and continued just staring at him. You will not keep me from gaining power, said Sasuke. And you're going to stop me? How? Responded Naruto, walking forward. He stopped, however, when the Uchiha drew a kunai. You don't want to do that. You can't win. You don't even know the rules of the game, said Naruto with a smirk. Sasuke looked confused for a moment, which was all Naruto needed. Faster than the Uchiha could react, Naruto crossed the distance and delivered a crushing punch to the boy's stomach, knocking him over the edge. Sasuke recovered quickly though and flipped, landing on the water below. Not long afterwards, Naruto landed himself. Neither wasted any time before they charged at each other. They both sent out punches which collided with each other a few times. At the same time, both jumped back and ran through a few seals. Then each taking a deep breath exhaled, thinking. Katon, Gakakyu no Jutsu, Suiton, Teppadama, water release, gunshot. While Sasuke blew out a giant fireball, Naruto blew out a water ball the same size. Both attacks streaked at each other before colliding, canceling each other out and creating a wall of steam. When the smoke cleared, both boys were standing still staring at each other. Warm-up's over, said Naruto. Was all that came from the Uchiha. With that said, the Uchiha closed his eyes, which quickly reopened, showing the blood-red orbs of the Sharingan, 2 comma marks in each one. Naruto smirked, seeing this. Now he could crush him at his best. With that thought, he blurred forward, streaking at the Uchiha. Jumping, he delivered a vicious spin kick towards his head. Sasuke, seeing it coming, blocked it before throwing his own punch, which Naruto flipped over. Sasuke, seeing this, swung down on him, which Naruto dodged by dropping into the water. It didn't take long for the blonde to emerge away from the Uchiha. When he did, he wasted no time going through seals before calling out Kirigakyu no Jutsu. Just after he said that, a thick mist rolled in surrounding the area. Sasuke cursed. Even with his Sharingan, he could barely see. Naruto himself was perfectly fine and watching the Uchiha as he looked around. Flexing his hands, he watched as they turned to claws and blurred forward. Sasuke bit back a scream as he felt the claws tear across his skin. Luckily, it had only been his arm that had got hit that time. Not wanting to deal with any more of this, he quickly activated his curse seal, the purple chakra, dispelling the mist. He looked up just in time to catch a punch to the jaw that sent him flying into a wall. Before Naruto could do anything else, however, another group of Otonin appeared, jumping over the edge of one of the statues. "God damn it," snarled Naruto, seeing the group. Before most could even land, his hands blurred through seals and he blew out a large fireball. Most managed to dodge it, though some were incinerated. Once they landed, the blonde looked at the 10 that had dodged his fireball. Then once again running through seals, the blonde called out Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu, water clone technique. 10 clones were created then. With a mental command, Naruto sent them forward. Hearing the sound of chirping birds, he turned just in time to catch a Chidori to the shoulder. Sasuke took this opportunity and quickly grabbed the blonde by his neck and prepared to strike him again. Just as he was about to strike, red chakra burst out of the blonde. He watched as his claws became shaper and his eyes turned red. The most horrifying, however, was the wound on his shoulder healing. The now officially pissed off Naruto charged at the Uchiha, leaving after images behind him. Arriving in front of him, he delivered a devastating right punch to the Uchiha's stomach, followed by 3 more punches, the last of which sent him into the water. He emerged quickly, trying to put some distance between the two of them. Naruto was having none of this, however, and sped after him. Running on the walls, the blonde jumped off, landing in front of the Uchiha and giving him a crushing kick to the side of the head. Sasuke went flying, but Naruto was on him quickly, once more grabbing him by the neck, pinning him against the wall. "If I'd have known this would happen," Uchiha spoke Naruto quietly, with anger lacing his voice, "I'd have let you die in that forest," finished the blonde. Sasuke, in need of air, swung a kunai for the blonde's side. Naruto jumped back, reluctantly releasing his hold on the Uchiha's neck. Sasuke, taking the opportunity, jumped after the blonde, catching him by surprise and sending them both towards the water. Naruto recovered quickly, however, and quickly kneed the Uchiha in the side, causing his grip to loosen. Then moving quickly, he flipped, and using his arm tossed the Uchiha towards the water, followed quickly by a ball of water. Sasuke, who was running through Hion's seals, turned, dodging the water ball which streaked past him. Then once he reached the water and finished his seals, exhaled a giant fireball at the Uzumaki. Naruto saw the attack and let loose a yell. Just using a blast of chakra, he sent the attack right back at the Uchiha. Once that happened, Naruto watched, waiting for the smoke to clear. When it did, it showed who Naruto assumed to be Sasuke. He now had longer light blue hair and a black mark that went over his nose. His eyes were now fully matured Sharingan eyes against a black background. Finally, a pair of large hands had burst from his back, which Naruto assumed had blocked the fireball, as they had been covering the Uchiha. "I don't know why my brother considers you special," Naruto said Sasuke quietly. "But I'm more special than you are," he finished, grinning. "Really?" said Naruto with a raised eyebrow. "Of course I'll always be more special than you. After all, I'm an Uchiha and you're just some no-name orphan," said Sasuke with a smirk. "Is that what you think?" said Naruto, smirking as well. "Then why is Mr. Almighty Uchiha so weak that he has to run to that snake for power?" said Naruto, smirking. "Better than being held back in that village full of weaklings," said the Uchiha brat. "And breaking my bonds with them, and you will make me even stronger," finished the Uchiha. "Breaking them, muttered Naruto. "Let's finish this then," said Naruto coldly. "HN." With that, Naruto brought his hands forward and together a red Rasengan forming. Sasuke himself quickly went through the seals for the Chidori. The usual chirping sound now sounded more like screeching, and the Chidori, now black in color, both tensed and then at the same time sprung forward with yells. Habataku Chidori, Kitsune Rasengan. The two attacks collided, creating a giant white orb. Inside the orb, however, both were struggling to gain the upper hand. Finally, Naruto won the power struggle, going through the Chidori and slamming the orb of swirling chakra into the Uchiha's chest, sending him flying into a wall before hitting the ground. Naruto, who was panting heavily and back to normal, smirked seeing this. However, it was short-lived. A scream ripped out from his throat. Looking down, the blonde saw the steel of a blade going through his stomach from his back. It was then he felt several hands grab him and hold him still. "Hello, Naruto-kun," came the sickening voice of Kabuto. Kabuto walked over to the Uchiha and shook his head before healing the damage done by the Rasengan. Naruto growled seeing this, though he coughed up blood as a result. "Don't die now, Naruto-kun," said Kabuto lightly. "After all, Orochimaru-sama wants Sasuke here to kill you," he finished. Naruto said nothing as the pain had already gotten to him. Inside his head, Kyuubi's screams of rage could be heard, as well as her promises of revenge. "You know, cough, I'm going to cough kill you," said Naruto, grinning weakly with blood dripping down his chin. Not long after that, the Uchiha stood up and turned towards the blonde. "You know, Naruto, killing you means a lot as it gets me closer to killing my brother," said the Uchiha, a Chidori quickly forming in his hand. Once it was fully formed, the Uchiha charged forward, slamming it through the blonde's stomach and out of his back. Once he pulled his hand free, the hold on the blonde was released, and he fell into the water. Once that happened, Sasuke, now in his normal form, left along with the Sound Nin. Once they were gone, Naruto was immediately pulled from out of the water. Looking up weakly, he saw the person was a white-haired teenager with a black-haired girl beside him. "Naruto, listen, the seal on your stomach was destroyed. If something isn't done about it, it could kill you. I'm going to put a preserver seal on you. It will put you to sleep and stop any more damage from being done to you until you can be healed." With that said, the white-haired boy applied the seal to his forehead and Naruto passed out. Real world later, Tsunade sat in her office with Jiraiya, Unohana, and Byakuya with her. Since they had seen Naruto's memory, they had been talking a lot. She had learned of the Godai 13 and what they did. But what they mostly talked about was Naruto. Said blonde had awoken not long after they had viewed his memory of the fight. During this time, Byakuya had decided to talk to Naruto alone, thus bringing about the conversation taking place now. "Let me get this straight, you want me to let you take Naruto?" said Tsunade, looking at Byakuya like he was crazy. "It's not a request, I'm telling you I will take him. He has no choice but to go," said Byakuya evenly. "And you think I'll just let you take my nephew away?" "Why?" said Tsunade, her eyes narrowing. "He is my nephew as well," said Byakuya with a sigh. "We had thought him to be dead for years and just learned he was still alive." He paused, then continued. "Like it or not, Naruto is a Kuchiki, a member of Soul Society's most noble family. Aside from that, he needs to be trained in the ways of a Shinigami," finished the Kuchiki head. Hospital. Naruto stared out the window looking over the village. His thoughts kept going back to that mission. It had changed him. He had no doubts that he was believed to be dead, which would get the Akatsuki off of him for a while, giving him time to train. He had already made up his mind about the Kuchiki head's offer and accepted it. He had told this to both Tenten and Hinata. The latter of the two had took it the hardest but agreed to his choice. His sister, however, had just warned him not to become a pervert before they left. "You're awake," said Shikamaru, breaking the blonde from his thoughts. "How do you feel?" asked the shadow user. "Like someone shoved their hand through my stomach while it was covered in lightning," answered Naruto. "How's everyone else?" asked Naruto after a moment. "Everyone's fine though, we're all tired," said Shikamaru. "Luckily, when those Shinigami came to heal you, they took care of us as well," finished the shadow user. "So what will you do now?" asked Shikamaru. "I'll train, and then when I'm stronger and hunt them down and kill them all, especially the Uchiha," answered Naruto, spitting the name out. Shikamaru said nothing and joined the blonde and looking out the window. Sakura, who was outside, had silent tears running down her face from what had happened to her team. That night, Naruto stared out over the village from atop Nidame's head on the monument. He was dressed completely, his coat was on and Zanpakuto strapped to his back. Kyuubi, who was standing next to the blonde, would be staying in the village until her father's arrival. Byakuya and Unohana were both standing behind them. After a moment more, Naruto, Byakuya and Unohana left through a portal. "Be safe, Naruto-kun," whispered Kyuubi before she too disappeared except in a whirl of fire. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.